Sophie and the Ark of Emonglia. Chapter 5. The Albino Bunny of Fear. The light flared and vanished in an instant, sending a ripple of unseen energy through the meadow of contemplation. Sophie gripped Max tightly, her fingers curling into his thick coat as the light faded. Where Fear's skeletal remains had been moments ago, now stood a 6-foot albino bunny, with snowy fur and large crimson eyes. Fear's maroon cloak clung awkwardly to its frame, crackling with static. "Fear?" Sophie whispered. "Obviously," the bunny replied, whiskers bristling. "The sewer?" Max asked, slipping out of Sophie's grasp to sniff at the albino's feet. "Blast! Would you stop shoving your nose at me?" snapped the bunny, flailing its paws. "I'm intolerant of dogs, noses, and sniffing." Max backed off, tail wagging. "Don't get thy whiskers in a twist, Fluff." He turned to Sophie and nodded. "It's Fear, all right." Why did you change?" Sophie stammered. "I haven't," the bunny replied sharply. "It is your perception of me that has been," it paused, twitching its nose, "recalibrated." "Explain the bunny suit then," Max queried, tilting his head. "Like all emotions, I exist in perfect neutrality," Fear said, its crimson eyes steady. "But your perception shapes that neutrality into a form. When you were afraid, I was your monster. Now that you've accepted me," it glanced at itself, ears flattening slightly, "I'm an albino bunny, apparently." "Don't be daft, Fluff. I was never afraid of that," Max huffed. Fear pointed a paw at Sophie. "I meant her." "I thought you were dead," Sophie stammered, frowning. "Fear doesn't die. Human constructs cannot. We transform," Fear replied, smoothing its static crackling cloak. It reached into its lining and produced a small mesh pouch, holding it out to Sophie. "A token of goodwill. Peanut butter and salted caramel granola bar, raisin-free and dog-friendly. Made it myself earlier." Max's tail thumped excitedly. "Treats? All right, they're forgiven. Best friends now," he gushed. Sophie reached for the pouch and snapped the granola bar into 3 pieces. "Are you going to change back? Into the scary thing?" The peanut butter and caramel filling melted in her palm, its sweet aroma making her stomach rumble. She handed 1 piece to Fear, another to Max, and popped the 3rd in her mouth. "Whether I stay a bunny or change back is entirely up to you," Fear said. "Emotions are what you make of them." Sophie nodded slowly. Emotions weren't the problem. They were a fact of life, a part of the ecosystem. It was her feelings that had turned fear into anxiety, confusion into uncertainty, and rationality into rigidity. The transformation revealed a deeper truth. Fear was neither an enemy nor a jailer, but a guide, shaped by her own perception. She let the thought sink in, the weight of it both humbling and liberating. Suddenly, she remembered something Dad used to say. "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to carry it forward." For the first time, Sophie wasn't letting fear lead the way. It was her turn to carry it forward. "Meinst, Fluff here is treat enhanced," Max interjected, snuffling her palm for the last traces of peanut butter. Fear rolled its crimson eyes with a huff. "I should probably tell you what happened to Rationality." Sophie's heart quickened. She'd been so preoccupied with Fear's transformation that she'd nearly forgotten about the arrest. "Yes, please," she said, eagerly. "We were waiting by the crossroads of eternity when Ratus Mus Maximus and his pack of con-insultants showed up," Fear began, lowering its voice conspiratorially. "Blasted rodents, always lurking for ants to insult," It shook its head. As soon as they left, Rationality summoned a woodpecker scribe, dictated a message, and handed it to me for safekeeping. I'm decent at hiding things, but not as good as Sir Norman the Texan. Who? Sophie and Max asked in unison, exchanging confused glances. You'll see, Fia said cryptically. After Sir Norman and I hid the message, the sloth guards arrived, arrested Rationality for stealing the Ark, and tried to question me about you, Sophie. Its fur rippled with a visible shudder. I ran and hid in the bushes. But then the blasted Morning Crow correspondent flew by, triggering my bird phobia. Fia shuffled its paws awkwardly. I panicked and fainted. Mighty lucky we tracked that when we did, Max said with a grin. Fia shot him a glare. I'm not sure being dragged out of my hiding spot by a drooling behemoth qualifies as luck. I can always drag that back in, Fluff, Max growled, baring his teeth in mock warning. And where's this message now? Sophie asked, cutting through the bickering. Coming right up, Fia announced. It turned to face the tree line and began a series of elaborate gestures. Hey up, Fluff. That feeling all right? Max yelped, tilting his head in confusion. That's the signal, Fia explained breathlessly. A moment later, a cowboy hat appeared from beneath a jacaranda tree, bobbing as its wearer made its way through the grass. A small grey squirrel came into view, dressed in suede chaps, a fringed waistcoat, and a red pattern neckerchief. It stopped in front of Sophie and tipped its hat in greeting. Howdy, how y'all doing? The squirrel asked in a thick southern drawl. This is Sir Norman the Texan, Fia introduced, a trusted friend. What can I do you folks for? Drawled the squirrel. Sir Norman, we need the you-know-what. Fia gave an exaggerated wink. What the pug's going on? Max yelped, backing away. Squirrels always made him uneasy. I asked Sir Norman to squirrel the woodpeckergram away, so to speak, until your return, Fia explained. Sir Norman, if you please. Darn tootin'. The squirrel tipped its hat once again, pulled out a square of tree bark, and handed it to Sophie. Y'all mind if I dig a hole? Good soil here, Sir Norman said, already pattering at the ground. Go ahead, Sophie said, her focus on the woodpeckergram. She traced the rough bark, its faint pine scent lingering in the air, and read aloud, Help find book, trust no one. Book? Max echoed. What about the Ark? I assume Rationality intends for you to start at the library, Fia said, pointing at the Crossroads of Eternity signpost. As it did, one of the signpost arms flickered to life, faintly glowing with the words, Town's Edge for the Library of Knowledge. That wasn't there before, Sophie muttered, narrowing her eyes. It wouldn't be, Fia replied. The crossroads only reveal the way once you have somewhere to go. Is the library far? She asked. Just a few layers deeper into the subconscious Emonglia, Fia replied. How many? Max tilted his head inquisitively. Fia raised its paw, tapping in the air twice. That's either 8 or 44, Max counted. More, if we factor in the disproportionately giant paw. Blast! Stop saying numbers, Fia snapped, fur bristling. And there's nothing wrong with the size of my paw. Certainly not enough to skew mathematics. Sophie frowned, her thoughts turning to the Ark. They couldn't return to Earth without it, that much was certain. But necessity wasn't the only thing pushing her forward. Excitement stirred within her, an unexpected thrill of adventure. If the library is the start, then that's where we're going, she said firmly. Blast! Absolutely not! You are a ban on association fugitive, protested Fia. Sophie leaned forward, her grip firm as she clasped Fia's plush paw. This is bigger than me or the ban. This is about rationality, finding the arc, and setting things right, for all of us. Fia shuffled uncomfortably, its ears flattening. Consider carefully what you're getting yourself into, Earthian. This might get hairy. Sophie forced a faint smile, masking the knot of uncertainty tightening in her chest. I'm standing between a giant bunny and an old English sheepdog. How much hairier can things get? We need that, Fluff, Mag said, his tail wagging faintly. Bunny paw for luck. Fia let out a long, weary sigh, its toes burrowing into the soft earth. There's a lot more to this story than you know, and I'll be damned if I get dragged into it again. It glanced at Sophie, its crimson eyes softening slightly. I'll take you to the library. I owe Rationality that much. But after that, you're on your own. Great, Sophie exclaimed. How does this teleporter work? Simple. Say the words on the side. It's instantaneous, painless, and, Fia hesitated, its ears twitching, mostly reliable. It shut its eyes tightly. But I always close my eyes, just in case. Sophie tightened her grip on Fia's paw and grabbed Max's collar. Ready? She asked, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. Then announced to the teleporter, Town's Edge for the Library of Knowledge. Good luck, y'all, Sir Norman called, still digging enthusiastically at the ground. The crossroads of eternity beeped twice, and in the blink of an eye, Sophie, Max, and Fia vanished from the meadow of contemplation.
Like and subscribe to join the adventure, and check out the links below for more magic.